opening night at Highmark Stadium, and alongside the Monongahela River, the lights are on, and a little bit of rain won't keep the fans away here. The Riverhounds, their first home game, they have just 2 in their opening 9 to begin the campaign, take on Miami FC. And tonight's match is presented by Allegheny Health Network, official medical provider of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds Soccer Club. Mike Watson, Ricky Lopez, Espen, a look at the standings. Miami is sitting outside playoff position, of course, with a very long way to go. They're tied for that 8th and final spot. Meanwhile, for Pittsburgh, you start 2 games on the road, 2 teams that made the playoffs last year, win and a draw. Even Bob Lilly can be happy about that.
And just the way that they've gone about their business, talking to Bob Lilly, said, look, we're not clicking on all cylinders, but it's a good sign of a team to go on the road, 2 very talented sides, to pick up points when they're figuring things out. Pittsburgh Riverhounds, very talented starting 11 here.
So Pittsburgh goes to Memphis last time out, a 3-1 win. Bruno Laffa scores after Albert Dikwa's opener, but Dikwa a hat trick in the game.
And when a striker is confident, he wants the ball. Just the positioning of Albert Dikwa, this 3rd goal is one of my favorites. The separation, the clinical, to take that first time to put it right through the goalkeeper's legs. Albert Dikwa full of confidence at the moment. He's going to ask a lot of questions of Miami FC, but he understands the game extremely well. He understands if I stay high, that leaves a lot of space for players underneath me to operate, get in and around that 18-yard box. He's big, he's physical, has very good feet. Albert Dikwa is going to ask a lot of questions of Miami FC here tonight.
Coming off an 11-goal campaign, he's got his first 3 of 2023 Championship Player of the Week. So while Pittsburgh's gotten goals from Albert Dikwa, Miami really hasn't gotten goals from anybody yet. They're creating some chances, but not nearly enough. So how does that change today?
You just need to commit numbers forward. There's too much talent on this roster for Anthony Pujols not to find goals. It's not a question of if, it's a matter of when. We saw against Tulsa that second half was probably their best half of soccer early this season, but it wasn't an opportunity to come into Pittsburgh Riverhounds, hostile environment, to kickstart the campaign and find the back of the net.
Miami coming off a 1-0 loss against New Mexico, a penalty off a Paco Craig handball. If you're Miami, you can push all the numbers forward you want, but it's the number 9 who's got to finish.
Yeah, he needs to get on the ball. He needs to be confident here tonight. And it's been very frustrating to start the season for Kyle Murphy. He works extremely hard with his vertical running. But one opportunity here again, he needs to be very active in around that 18-yard box, want the ball in the service. I think a little tweak from Anthony Pujols is going to help him kickstart his season here tonight.
In August and September last year, 7 goals in 9 games. Can he recapture that form? Pro debut in goal tonight for Pittsburgh. Jamali Wake goes to Jamaica. Tell you about that in a moment's time. Pittsburgh and Miami from Highmark Stadium in Pittsburgh. Come open up the stadium for the year with us.
'21 finalist.
Hey, I don't know if you're going to be able to get unanimous golden.
Everything's going great. And when that's not the case at all. We see you needing expert care every single day. And excited for all that's to come. At AHN, we see you.
Let's go, come on. I love a new color and a new game. I like to switch it up, wherever my mood takes me. I'm always just doing me. And today, I'm me loving the PA Lottery. The games have become a part of me. They make me happy. They get me excited. And when I want to try something new, I'll just go to another, and then another, and another.
There's a lot of love for the Pennsylvania Lottery. And when you see how fun it is, you'll understand why.
Ain't no better feeling than a cold one in my hand. Well, that's why I'll be keeping Iron City in my plans. Oh, everywhere I roam, I'll be thinking about my home. Sitting pouring on the iron right before I go to rest. And when I'm laying in my bed, there's only one thing in my head. Just an ice cold can of Pittsburgh, PA's best.
The first thing I'm gonna do at the Museum of Play is scale the beanstalk. No, wait, the giant Etch-a-Sketch. Yes, maybe the video game arcade. Oh, who am I kidding? I'm riding the choo-choo.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah. The Museum of Play really is the ultimate place to train.
Get it?
With so much to do and see,
Everyone loves the strong National Museum of Play in Rochester, New York.
Players walking onto the field, it'll become a more familiar sight as the year goes along. It is the home opener in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The Riverhounds take on Miami, and tonight's match is presented by Allegheny Health Network. Mike and Ricky back with you. Let's get you caught up on the lineup news here tonight. We begin with Pittsburgh. Now, the lineups are presented by Armina Stone. No changes except for the goalkeeper, of course. Garner steps in for Jamali Waite.
And it's a 4-4-2, but can quickly go into a 4-2-3-1. That drops in Kiza or Dikwa with the pinpoint of the other one. But look at Mertz. He's going to come underneath. A very creative player, Ibarra, and a 2 is going to be the one that sits. And we know what Bernardo Forbes is all about, getting into the attack as he sees fit. Really talented starting 11 here for Pittsburgh Riverhounds and Bob Lilly's side.
All right, meanwhile for Miami, if you're Anthony Pulis, how do you get the attack to have a little more teeth to it? You're probably going to put a few more numbers higher up the field and try and empower those that are there.
And it's going to be with wingbacks. You're bringing Aiden Stanley. You have Curtis Thorne. Akinyote is going to be the one that's a single pivot. You have Florian Velo and Ben Mines push up. And then you have Sorto and Murphy. Really attack-minded. You're going to see for Thorne to get in and around the corner in that final third. And it's all about the relationship between Sorto and Murphy. Murphy's going to want to stay high. Sorto come to feet. But that middle three needs to be clicking early and often for Miami FC and Anthony Pulis here.
So it should be a fun match tonight between two teams that you could argue have as much in common as they do separate, whether it be geographic or the way they play or the approach to this beautiful game. But what we know for sure is that these fans in Pittsburgh are excited to welcome back the Riverhounds here tonight. Torrential rain the last few days. It should hold off till about 10 o'clock, which means a dry night here at Highmark Stadium. Albert Dikwa set to take the first touch for the Riverhounds, coming off his hat-trick performance last week. The home campaign is underway for the Riverhounds. They welcome Miami FC on a Friday night in Week 3. Flung forward by Pittsburgh. That's short-lived from Dos Santos. Rivera. Might be a good time to check in on our keys to the match here. Pittsburgh looking for their second win of the year. Miami there first. They're presented by IC Light.
We just talked about the understanding between Dikwa and Kiza. You don't want to get caught on the same plane. That means one come to feet, one and get in behind. Always playing that cat and mouse game with the opposition and those center backs for Miami FC. It's simple, create opportunities. Last time out against New Mexico, very stagnant in that final third. So what does this look like on the road? You switch the formation a little bit. So below, Murphy and Sorto need to get on the same page early and often.
Comes to Sorto now. He's capped with El Salvador. This is, of course, an international window with CONCACAF Nations League ongoing, and that's hit Miami especially hard. Salazar, Telfer, Rivas, all part of the national setups in Belize, Trinidad and Tobago, and El Salvador respectively, and then the goalkeeper, Jamali Waite, steps in for Jamaica. They're without Andre Blake. There's a realistic chance Jamali Waite's starting at the Azteca this week.
And what an opportunity that would be in terms of experience. But you have Gardner in goal for Pittsburgh Riverhounds. If you're Miami FC, you're asking questions of him. You're testing him extremely early. You have any pocket of space, 20, 25 yards out, you're pulling the trigger here.
Florian Velo, an ongoing conversation. And puts it in play as quickly as he can. Hernandez, well tenured with Guatemala, stepping into Miami this year. Sliced over by Etu. Seeking Rivera. Bounced away from Kiza. His second season with the Hounds, but his first from the jump, coming in on loan last year from New England. Aiden Stanley. Stab towards Sorto, snaps it forward, and a Aggressive start from Christian Garner, 6-foot goalkeeper from Massachusetts, 4 years at Boston College, then finished as a grad student at Northwestern. How does college, you played at Creighton, prepare you for your first pro game? Because I imagine Garner's coming in with eyes wide like dinner plates.
I'll be honest, I don't think it does.
Fair enough.
Obviously, you're playing, the stakes are higher. Food is on the table. This is your living when you're playing for professional football. So what does this look like in terms of pressure for him? But so far, coming off his line, extremely confident. And it all comes down to communication with Hogan Ordonez in that back line. How quickly can you get your goalkeeper confident on at home? It's going to be a big test for Christian Gardner here in goal for Bob Lilly's side.
Well, the good news is this is, if there's a linebacker you and a running back you, this is goalkeeper you. Caught under the feet of Paco Craig. Craig on it now. Lobbing long for Mines. Nobody home. And a leak out beyond Ordonez.
But you like to see this from Miami FC, something that we didn't see in the first 2 games. Just playing forward, ongoing runs. There's a bit of a miscommunication between Curtis Thorne and Ben Mines there. But you can hear Anthony Pulis just telling his boys, look, play forward, get on the front foot, something that at home was very surprising that they didn't do more times often than not.
Pulis locking horns with Bob Lilly, you saw there a moment ago, 6th year at the helm. Seeking his 80th Riverhound victory. Collision with Hernandez. This will go against Dequa. You know, I think we underappreciate the run that Albert Dequa made. I'm glad you mentioned it in the pregame as we saw the highlights from his hat trick against Memphis last week, because some of his movement when he gets really incisive reminds you this guy could score you 15-plus goals in a season.
And I think it's going to be an X factor going forward for the Riverhounds. Cicerone goes away, Sacramento Republic. So who's going to take reins of the attacking unit for the Riverhounds? And so far it's been Albert Dequa. When you're confident, just playing extremely instinctual. Watch out there, Bernardo Forbes.
Yeah, Forbes hasn't lost a step. Spinning Robbie Mertz. Mertz clipping across. That's over the top of Dequa. That is what you want to see if you're a Pittsburgh fan. Marshaled midfield with Forbes finding Mertz looking for Dequa.
And it's something that Bob Lilly told us on our phone call, saying we're going to have a lot of success when we change the point of attack. Robbie Mertz so crafty, especially on top of this 18-yard box. It's a brilliant idea, but Dequa just not on the same page. But those are the situations you want Bernardo Forbes, Robbie Mertz to get on the ball in the attacking phase of the game, asking questions of Miami FC.
Mertz, the Pittsburgh kid from Upper St. Clair, on to Michigan. After a couple years in Atlanta, returning back home. Now, that ball never stopped moving. Now, this is the first Riverhounds home game that you're seeing on the CW in Pittsburgh, along with ESPN Plus, a new partnership this year. More fans than ever will have a chance to see the Riverhounds on TV. Hopefully you'll stop on by for a game. This is one of the winningest traditions in Pittsburgh the last few years, and that's saying something, of course. Flick forward, and the offside flag run amok by Miami.
You just see how deep the Riverhounds are sitting. Like a 4-1-4-1, mid to low block. You have Ibarra as a single pivot. You have Kizza dropping in underneath Dequa. So if you're Miami FC, how do you break this down? A lot of movement, quick ball, retention, circulation. So far, I haven't really had an answer to break down this Pittsburgh Riverhounds back line.
Header snapped over. Callum Chapman-Page was a little late to the party. Kizza with a deflection, and that'll fall for Adrian Zendejas. In Kansas City, all he did was win, reach the 2016-17 championship final with Swope Park. And then it's been a rather nomadic life for Zendejas since. Nashville, Minnesota, Charlotte loaned to League One Charlotte Independence last year. Now in his 8th year as a pro, signs as the one for an independent club for the first time here in Miami. Potential head injury. Referee's going to stop play. The athletic training staff for Pittsburgh is going to make their way out. So that's of concern here for the Riverhounds. So Bob Lilly's speaking to the players unaffected at the moment. You and I had a chance to talk to him for the first time this year, earlier this week, and the conversation centered at the beginning about the number of players that they brought back last year and the expectations that were sky high to what he brought back this year, which maybe they wanted to keep Danny Griffin and Russell Cicerone and a handful of other players. They also recognized last year finishing 5th was in and of itself an underachievement, and that for them to ultimately win a championship here in Pittsburgh, they needed more consistency than they had last year.
I think you look at last year versus this year, Cicerone and Griffin just held so much weight in between, as we see Patrick Hogan get back up. Good sign for Pittsburgh Riverhounds, but those two players just held so much weight in the success for the Riverhounds. You wanted Cicerone to score goals. You wanted Danny Griffin to cover so much ground. How many? It's an Iron Man for the reason. But now you bring back the players, and it's really interesting how he said, we want the players that are here who want to stay here. We had players that come in through tryout, open tryout, bring them in for preseason to fight for a contract. Players come in from Charleston Battery. And he was very quick to say that I think we have a lot of players that we can spread the wealth. We don't need to pinpoint one person to do every single job. We have a lot more attacking options. It's going to be very interesting to see how the Riverhounds go about their business in 23.
It's going to bounce out past Rivera. And even you mentioned the goals from Cicerone. All due respect to Russell Cicerone, it wasn't your typical 9.
Exactly, he's playing more to the left side.
Yeah.
Now you have Deco, you have Kizza. You said they're quick to understand each other. That's a hard challenge for Kizza.
That's going to be more than a talking to. That's a yellow card. So Kizza's booked here in the 11th minute. That's Stanley down.
I think he's a bit late here. Kizza, heavy touch as he tries to recuperate. The ball's gone, comes over the foot of Aiden Stanley. Now he needs to be extremely careful, Kizza. It's something you don't want 11 minutes into this first half to pick up a yellow card. A test of discipline for the striker for the Riverhounds.
The yellow card has been issued. The Riverhounds number 19.
Hernandez over Sorto. Hogan is back in. Good news for Pittsburgh after that potential head injury previously. Well, that header off his head and sending Miami into the final third. Sorto pirouetting, Forbes now launched forward. Sort of an awkward collection there from Paco Craig. Florian Velo will bring it back. Free kick Miami. And Ben Mines tied up with Nate Dos Santos.
Bit of a pinball action between both sides. No one able to get their foot on it. Get in terms of possession. Seems a bit frustrated, Bob Lilly, and rightly so. This ball pops out. Ben Mines very courageous. Puts his head down. Dos Santos comes in late. Now if you're Miami FC, and you're Sorto, you're pumping this ball into a dangerous area, asking questions of Gardner, trying to create confusion.
Stanley leading header out, Velo, and now Sorto stymies it. I'm going to see Etu snap it outside to Dos Santos. And he's giving it back to Velo. I see Etu there again.
Up or down?
And Etu wins a free kick. If you're trying to figure out how to replace Danny Griffin, I'm not sure anyone can adequately cover all those miles. Junior Etu might be the guy.
You can just see the amount of ground he covers. Sits in the hole right in front of those two center backs for Bob Lilly. But he gives a lot of freedom to Bernardo Forbes to join the attack because he knows he has that to cover ground, to clog that middle, make life extremely frustrating for the opposition. It's very interesting. As Danny Griffin goes out the door, Etu gets more of a role here for the Riverhounds.
Zendejas. Kiza. Sending Mertz. At the tying goal against Birmingham week 1. Dos Santos. And rolls right to Zendejas. Adikwa making a run, cutting toward him. It cleared some space, but Zendejas covered the rest.
And it's brilliant possession for the Riverhounds. Riley Mertz just has a really good feeling of when to break. Kiza drops in, Mertz goes wide, and Dos Santos comes underneath. Something you don't see very often. Good relationship between those two players on the left-hand side. And like you said, Mike, it's a brilliant run from Dikwa, just so unlucky on having that final pass.
Kiza bounced off the ground awkwardly. Don't mind if Fernandez does.
If you're Miami FC, yes, you commit numbers forward, but that doesn't do you very well. You need to connect passes through the middle. We haven't seen Florian Velo, Bolo Akinyoti get on the ball that much, and those two players pull the strings for Anthony Pulis' side. It's been very route one so far, 15 minutes into this game.
If you manage, as Akinyoti does get a touch there and puts it out, if you effectively hit route one once or twice, doesn't it open the whole game up though?
It does, but you have to be very effective about it.
Yeah.
Every time you've gone into Kyle Murphy, into Sorso, it's gone back the other way. Very predictable so far for Miami FC.
Etu sends it back. Hey, Hounds fans, if you need help with your insurance brokerage coverage and consulting needs, make sure to call Epic Insurance, a proud partner of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds SC. Hogan for Garner. Riverhounds won the last meeting between these teams 4-1 on the heels of a trio of set-piece goals. Forbes, Dikwa, Kiza alone centrally. Support Ibarra, hangs this toward Mertz, and snap header out by Curtis Thorne. Corner here for the Hounds.
It's time for a Quantum Spirits corner kick. Show your Hounds Quantum Spirit.
And this is just brilliant understanding between Ordonez and Bernardo Forbes. Just look at the spacing, plays off the shoulder of Bolo Akinyoti, and then it's off to the races. Albert Dikwa gets in behind. It's a brilliant idea.
The corner caught by Zendejas. Then you hope that Pittsburgh has, they're going to have a repeat 3 set-piece goal night against Miami. Zendejas seems intent on ensuring it's not the case.
And talking to Anthony Pulis throughout the season, just gives that calming presence in that back line. You mentioned his experience. That goes a long way. Obviously, Connor Spare goes off to the Rowdies. Who's going to fill in those shoes? Zendejas comes in a season-long loan. A lot of leadership skill, very confident when it comes off his line. So him, Paco, Craig, Chapman, Page in that back line need to be on the same page here.
You know, it's funny, I mentioned it's his 8th year as a professional and all the places he had been. Goalkeeper 27, in theory, you're just entering your prime,
exactly.
too.
Just to have that identity, that experience to play with different clubs, know how to adapt, just going to do well for his development in Zendejas.
This is Ibarra.
And I think if you're Miami FC, you have to be extremely careful, especially defensively. Bolo Akinyoti, Florian Velo, when you step off your line, we just saw moments ago how smart Bernardo Forbes is in terms of his movement, playing in between lines off the shoulder. Just that balance as one goes, one stays between Velo and Akinyoti.
Keeper wars. Riverhounds very strong at home last year. The unique part of the schedule this season, you could argue in some ways it's a good thing. They're going to finish with a lot of home games. As long as they can stay afloat here early, 7 of their first 9 on the road, find a way to keep momentum, they might be able to rise up at the tail end of the season right into a playoff run. Dikwa got knocked down, a free kick here for Pittsburgh. Home openers haven't typically been great to the Hounds, but they did beat Hartford last year. To be fair, a lot of teams beat Hartford last year. I have a feeling that may change a little bit this season.
I think so as well. Bringing Tav Ramos, what does he look like? It's the Hellman, 23 from the USL Championship. I think they're never going to be an easy out with the experience of coaching that they just brought in.
Came from an offside position. Kizza, he's looking around like, aren't there 4 guys behind me?
One thing that points out in the front 2 for the Riverhounds is just the movement between Kizza and Dikwa. Whether it's going into feet, whether it's spinning in behind. Just a nightmare to defend between those 2.
Speaking of a nightmare, Chapman Page hand fighting with Kizza. It's going to be a tough out tonight. Away from Dikwa, but right to Forbes. No more lethal player on the ball in midfield in the championship. Assist record holder. Dikwa on the first time. Almost sent that to the bouncy castle.
But once again, just pure movement. Robbie Mertz makes a darting run from left to right that opens up gap for Albert Dikwa to get into the channel. Just not on the same page, as he's a bit too eager to put it into a dangerous situation. So much movement, so much fluidity for Bob Lilly and how he wants to play going forward.
Callum Chapman Page. Thorne came in from South Georgia Tormenta over the offseason. Before that, he was a New Orleans Jester. I'm not talking about the guy who's on Bourbon Street late at night. That's an NPSL club. Sorto took a weird sort of knuckle through the air. No problem for Garner. That's one of the most intriguing stats in the entire championship that I've seen. Road record for Miami last year.
And it's interesting. They were just so good on the road, but at home, weren't able to figure it out. We see it early again. A tie and a loss at home, picking up 1 point out of a possible 6. So that's a massive game in my eyes for this Miami FC side. You change the formation, hoping to kickstart the attacking unit. And confidence as well. Play with the wing backs, Aiden Stanley, Curtis Thorne. We haven't seen them get involved in that final third. Just a bit sloppy so far, 22 minutes in.
He's going to go against that too. Sorto.
You see, Mike, as he gets that ball, there's no support. There's no secondary movement, someone to drop into, someone running in the channel. It's far too stagnant going forward for the visitors.
Ordonez. Paco Craig. He's going to ricochet over to Sorto. Somehow he got that over the top. Contact there. Continues Murphy. Murphy after it again. Kyle Murphy opens the scoring on the road for Miami.
Excellent low angle on camera 3.
And Kyle Murphy breaks through. And what scoring problems for Miami? They're out in front in the 24th minute.
You change formation, and what does it give you? It just gives you numbers running in behind. Ben Mines has been out with an injury, causing all sorts of problems for this Riverhounds back line. Kyle Murphy, we talked about the hard work, the vertical running, all of the above. Not as clinical as he would like on the first opportunity, but gets the second bite of the apple. That extra effort, what we've seen throughout his career in USL Championship. And what an X factor. If you can get him going, you can get him confident in and around that 18-yard box, this Miami FC side is a whole different animal.
Remember when Kyle Murphy bagged 20 goals for Memphis 2 years ago? It's not that far away. Baker's dozen in Loudoun a couple years ago. He finished in double figures last year with that strong August and September.
I think he's a massive X factor going forward. You pair him up with Sorto, and that time it's Ben Mines. It just kind of divides it. The workload requires so much attention for the ongoing runner that Ben Mines does. And then you have Kyle Murphy just being what a striker does, a fox in the box, his movement, hard work, and he gets repaid for the extra running to get in behind.
Pinballs around Rivera. There's Akinyoti, Velo, Sorto. Picked off by Ordonez. And if you're Pittsburgh, you're going, well, we made a save. You could argue that the way that ball came over the top and the way Kyle Murphy split the defenders is kind of why Kyle Murphy's so good, but maybe you can feel unfortunate about that. Nevertheless, here you are.
Goals change games, but to be honest, Riverhounds have been the far better side.
That's a foul. There was an appeal for a handball, but ultimately Stanley impeded.
Yeah, I think that was actually legit.
Defenders feel the same way having to match up with Dequa as they used to when they saw one Ricky Lopez Espin on the other side.
You're giving me too much credit. As Dequa comes into the backside of Aiden Stanley. It is a foul. There's no arguments to be had from the striker from the Riverhounds. It's just a nightmare to defend, how big he is, how physical. But also has very soft feet. The ability to come to feet, the link-up play. Situation that he's grown in a ton for Bob Lilly.
Header from below, smashed back toward Mertz. Kizza, there's the support in the width. It's a little late, but Dos Santos has it now. Given away, big collision, and Ben Mines down again, another card's out. They're waiting for the replay. We're waiting for this to dissipate before we show it. Ordonez is booked.
And it's a sloppy turnover from the center back, trying to force the ball down the middle. That two doesn't see Velo, picks his pocket, and as Ben Mines gets to that ball, I think Ordonez is a bit too eager. There's no need to leave your feet there extremely late. You have numbers around that ball. Now it's a challenge for the center back. At about the 30-minute mark to pick up a yellow. It needs to be extremely disciplined in the challenges that he goes into in his positioning.
If you're Sorto, you aren't really all that much to one side or the other. Where are you looking?
I think he just clipped this ball into the back post. You have Chapman Page, you have Paco Craig. Something off the training ground from Anthony Pulis here. The plethora of options what to do. You have Paco on the far end, you have Chapman Page on the near end.
Well, they're coming up with something zigzagging through. Perhaps played themselves in the process. Paco Craig into the sideline.
It's a good idea. We'll see what the idea is, but the execution was lacking. Just a change. The angle trying to catch the Riverhounds sleeping.
Akinyoti at 2. This game of hacky sack continues. And hit the ground. Free kick here for Pittsburgh.
Been extremely choppy the first half hour here. If you're Bobby, you want the ball on the deck, moving the ball from left to right. You had so much success finding Bernardo Forbes just in the pockets off the shoulders. Other center midfielders for Miami FC. Kind of got away from that last couple minutes. But if you're Anthony Peels, you're extremely pleased with how your boys have performed in the first 30 minutes in terms of defensive unit, turning their defensive efforts into attacking opportunities. Bolo Akinyoti, Florian Velo have been spot on in winning their initial challenges.
Look forward, Akinyoti colliding with Kiza, and it's ushered over the line by Thorne. And that's sort of the story for Miami, right? Even when they aren't clicking on offense, they're never going to. The 4 goals they gave up last year against Pittsburgh was maybe the greatest anomaly of their season. That's flicked out of bounds away from Mines.
And it was always interesting when the lineups came out. Anthony Peels going into a 3-back with wing backs. So what was that balance going to look like? Curtis Thorne and Aiden Stanley. Pick and choose your times when to go forward, but also do your defensive duties. And then it was a big challenge for Bolu and Florian to play that shield in front of that back 5. And so far, they came up to the challenge and answered every single question asked of them.
Ordonez, Dos Santos, there's Ibarra. A whaling ship. A ship that's whaling, not a ship meant for whaling. Nevertheless, a horn in the background. Rivera. At 2. Thought about that wide open space down the left side. They're gonna pivot through the back line to it. Dos Santos.
You see how deep Miami's sitting, making life extremely frustrating for the home side. In moments like this, if you can peel off, especially in the interior, and go out the other way, you're gonna have a lot of real estate to move in for the Riverhounds. Miami just wants to suffocate the ball to one side, force a turnover. So just the spacing between Forbes, Etsu, and Ibarra needs to be spot on to break down this mid to low block.
Hogan.
Great ball.
Right into the pocket, and Forbes does the job. Holds play up, wins a dangerous free kick.
He just has a fantastic feel of when to move the spaces to pick up right off the shoulder of Bolu once again. And that really asks questions of that back line. Do they step? Do they drop off? This time it's Paco Craig. You can see the left leg just trying to peel in. Gets his foot caught in the cookie jar. Another very dangerous set piece for the Riverhounds.
And that's the man you want to have take it. He's going to step off. He's going to let Mertz have this moment. Mertz delivers, back post. And into the bleachers, the child stand by Ordonez.
And it's a fantastic ball from Robbie Mertz. Just clips it to the back post. I think if Ordonez goes with his left foot, it's a far better angle. More contact to be had. Put it across. and let your team get onto it. It's always difficult when the ball's coming across to go with that near foot. That's why you see it go up and over the bar.
Mines pursues. I'll play Dos Santos. Dos Santos there again. Miami advancing by way of throw-in. That's Curtis Thorne, 2 years at Nova Southeastern here in the U.S. and then showing up in Tormenta's star-crossed run last year in League One. Lives here in Miami. Stanley. Hogan. It's the little things, little feigns one way or the other.
Really smart.
Drives you nuts. You know, I thought it was interesting. 3 guys come in from Charleston, and to be entirely forward, Charleston was terrible last year. Hogan's one of them. DZ Harmon hasn't made the bench yet for Pittsburgh since arriving. And then they brought Burke Failing in off the bench. And I looked at it and I thought, hey, they picked maybe the best bones they could. So this is picked off by Garner. It wasn't really something Bob Lilly was looking to do. A couple of these guys came to the combine that Pittsburgh legendarily holds every year, and they always seem to find some guys in it. And then you start to figure out, okay, hey, this guy hits the level. We can work with this guy. Sorto. Etu combines with Rivera to take it away. Stanley. Of course, new management, Connor Casey's style didn't, I think, fit the players that we're talking about. They were brought in more the Anheuser mold, which I think fits in Bob Lilly's system a little bit better.
It surprised me, Bob Lilly's answer. Have a player like Hogan, who's just well known around the league. He said, no, we didn't sign him right away. We wanted to see what he was like day in and day out, how he's going to fit in with the culture, what I want to do, how I run my camp. Open tryout, the combine, comes into preseason, has to fight for a contract. That just tells you the standard that Bob Lilly sets for this Pittsburgh Riverhounds side. We're not going to sign anyone. We're going to sign the right players, even though you're a good person, a good player on the field. How do you fit into the locker room? How do you fit into the culture? What we're trying to do here in Pittsburgh speaks volumes.
And it's a resounding answer for Hogan and Harmon and Failing. Forbes through midfield. As much space as he's had in the last 20 minutes. Sent that through for Dequa. And the necessary touch from Hernandez.
But once again, it just comes from the movement and changing the point of attack through the interior. Carter Forbes just peels off a little bit, and then he puts a lot of pressure on that back line for Miami FC. You have the oncoming run of Rivera that really makes Hernandez to go with the runners and stay centrally. Fortunate for Miami FC, there's a little nick on this ball into the hands of Zendejas.
Rivera. There's Hogan.
Great turn.
Etu. In kind. Over by Forbes. Dos Santos. Supporting the width. Mertz on the move. Slashes across. The Miami header seeds a Pittsburgh corner.
Fans,
once again, just so silky playing through the lines. Etu Forbes goes out to the left-hand side between Dos Santos and Mertz as he little dip of the shoulder, trying to whip this ball into a dangerous situation. Give credit to Chapman Page. Heads it up and over away. Let's put it out for a corner kick.
See what Forbes can do. Enough stomping on these stands that they're starting to gyrate a bit. Pausing for effect, Canardo Forbes. With the go-ahead, Forbes, leaping header. Ordonez couldn't quite get there. He strapped a rocket to his back. He might have gotten there.
It was not far off, I'll tell you that.
Ordonez got under it again. It's Ordiqua. And that's an Ordonez foul, crashing like that Hogan into Hernandez.
It's a good idea from Gardner. Just whip this thing back into where it came from. Cause confusion within the 18-yard box, but you can see the hands from Hogan all over Hernandez, trying to elevate himself. When you have the extension, especially on the shoulders, right in front of the referee, it's always going to get you in trouble.
Hogan's had an eventful 40 minutes.
The only argument I'll have for Miami FC, yes, you're up 1-0. You switch into a 3-back. You have the wing-back, Stanley Thorne. You want to get them more involved. Too many times it's Aiden Stanley dropping in, trying to clip this ball in on the sideline. That should be Hernandez. Aiden Stanley should provide the width. That eludes Christian Torto to come underneath the pocket. Tom Murphy occupying the back. Something that Anthony Pulis wants to clean up, especially going into halftime.
Held up by Dequa. There goes Mertz. Miami the go-ahead tonight. 23rd minute from Kyle Murphy. Pittsburgh, a win and a draw to start the season, their first home game. Miami, just 1 point through 2 games, and now going on the road where they were so good last year. Under the foot of Ordonez. Circumnavigates back to Hogan. Drives for Kizza. It's a little early for this, isn't it? Imagine every forward when that moment happens is thinking it's going to be twice as sweet to score.
Oh, exactly. Drives you crazy. Drives you crazy. Once again, as Ben Mines peels out, that should be Curtis Dorn pushing a bit higher. Ben Mines plays into the pocket. Been far too predictable on the wide play for Miami FC.
That's interesting. I've had coaches say you don't really know how a team works together until about 10 games in. And a lot of it's just Thorne knowing, okay, I can go another 5 to 10 yards, or I can't, right?
Well, it's also, you look at the history of how Anthony Pulis likes to play. It's mostly a 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, whatever you want to call it. But just the lack of opportunities that they had in the first 2 games.
Furling in front.
Really forced his hands to go into a 3-back to commit more numbers forward. So yes, as a professional, you want to be able to adapt. You want to be able to pivot into different terms of systems. Curtis Thorne, Aiden Stanley have the ability to do that. I just want them to be a bit more courageous in terms of the positioning to get higher up the field.
Ooh, referee just did the Matrix. Go back in a minute and find out which pill he took. Leaping over the top, Akinyoti kept it alive. It's short-lived for Miami onto the foot of Rivera. Woo! Mike's Beer Bar isn't only the home, the famous steak on a stone, but also the official watch party location of your Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Meet me at Mike's.
There you go.
hear anything about Ricky's.
Not cool enough yet.
Nope. Zendejas trying to nurse this to halftime. Gives us a chance to look at this acrobatic move. No contact, that's clean. And it was the red pill. Wow. Vera to throw here for Pittsburgh. Approaching stoppage time. Struck down the line. And Murphy lost it, so Gerald Flores, the referee, plenty of time to effectively point in the right direction without feeling like his own safety is in jeopardy.
There will be a minimum
3 added minutes in this first half.
Time again in the first half. A minimum 3 minutes stoppage time.
Thorne. They're down Etu. This is Bright. Dequa. Forbes. Saucers a pass. Mertz met by Thorne. Crossed over Forbes and out.
Just too many times Pittsburgh Riverhounds having too much weight on that final ball. They're doing extremely well getting into that final third. But as this ball circulates back across, you just see he has eyes for that back post, but way over Donald Forbes' head. Good ideas, just execution has been lacking for the home side in this first half.
Right, Stanley overcooked it for Sorto. Unlike the steak on the stone, of course. Forbes is trying to open that up for Rivera, who took the wide route. Dos Santos. Ordonez. Returnier came to the center back, pushing forward. Ibarra. That's a rough 50-50. Miami's come away with it. Good news is both players got up from that.
Ooh, watch out.
Rivera, that's a clean tackle on Sorto. Well, they're giving each other a lot to think about. Anthony Pulis is probably going to be steamed about that in the dressing room, and it's hard not to blame him. Forbes, final seconds of this first half. Driven through, right into the hands of Zendejas. And that may be it in this first half.
Just not on the same page at the moment. Robbie Mertzman very active on that left-hand side. Likes to cut in to his preferred right foot. You can just see Anthony Pulis not happy with that late challenge on Sorto.
Pittsburgh Riverhounds nil.
He's gonna likely have a word or two on his way to the dressing room. And it's Murphy who's put Miami ahead at the half. At halftime, Anders Bordoy, first Riverhounds Academy player from the first youth group all the way into the first team, a USL Academy deal. You'll learn more about the newest member of the Riverhounds, an 18-year-old local product from here in Pittsburgh. We'll also get you caught up on the first half highlights, including Murphy's 23rd minute opener. The home opener, no rain, but still a little dampened at the moment. Miami 1, Pittsburgh 0 at the intermission.
Cheer on the Riverhounds all season long at Mike's Beer Bar, Pittsburgh's home for local beer. With 21 TVs, over 300 local beers, and amazing food, Mike's is the place to be. Tell your friends to meet me at Mike's, Federal Street, right across from PNC Park.
The magic at this point belongs to Miami, a 1-0 lead at Highmark Stadium at halftime. Welcome back to the Pittsburgh home opener. Miami trying to keep that ever-present road form in check here tonight. All eyes this week were on a new Riverhound altogether. Anders Bordoy is a local Pittsburgh kid, 18 years old now. He started playing with the Riverhounds when he was just 9, and after 2 seasons playing in the USL Academy League, he's ready for the first team. So this week he signed his USL Academy contract.
My name is Anders Bordoy. I've been with the Riverhounds Academy for 9 years, and I've just signed a USL Academy contract with the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. It's almost like a dream come true because I came here as a kid. I'd come onto the field after and get autographs from the players, and like now the fact that I could be one of those players that's signing autographs for younger kids that were almost like me in a sense, it's obviously crazy. And I'm genuinely grateful for this opportunity because it's going to help improve my abilities and the way I think and just helping me mature as a person and player. Obviously, I'd come to games and I'd see these pro players and I'd be like, I want to be here too. And then when Wyatt Borso signed a couple years ago, he was a young teenager, and that kind of opened my eyes and realized that I can do this too. If someone else my age can do this, I can come and do it as well, and especially since he was in the same club. And I felt that was now my goal. So playing for the Riverhounds Academy, they've always implemented technical abilities, and becoming a technical player is extremely important in the professional game and any parts of the aspect of a soccer game, because being technical, you're able to get out of more situations and you're able to almost think faster and you're able to carry out things that are going through your head. And I just feel like the Academy has really helped me develop that aspect of my game. And being in the ECNL, it's an extremely high level, and it scouts watching you, coaches watching you all the time, and it helps you get used to the pressure of playing soccer, and then you're kind of just able to be more calm when you come in those high pressure situations and more confident in your abilities. I hope the Academy kids can realize that I was in the same position as them a couple years ago. I just feel like it's great to have somebody to look up to and know that they came from a very similar position as you and that they can do it as well. Because if I can do it, I'm a kid from Pittsburgh, there are other kids from Pittsburgh, and if I can do it, they 100% can as well. They just have to put in the work, and I hope that they can look at me and realize that.
We all have goals. But let's be honest, most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
I can't wait to get to the Museum of Play. I will defeat the dreaded Donkey Kong, crush everyone in foosball, build an impenetrable dream house, explore the butterfly garden, mightily conquer the dance lab, and when all are vanquished, you know, I'd really like to see the Fairy Tale Forest puppet show, because it's kind of my jam. To the museum!
With so much to do and see, everyone loves the strong National Museum of Play in Rochester, New York.
Halftime, Highmark Stadium, one of the best views in American soccer. The Riverhounds and Miami. At the break, Miami the goal in the 23rd minute. We've got highlights coming up down the road, but let's show you the news and notes from around the USL Championship and beyond. 2 weeks into the season, and how about this for Memphis 901 FC? One great goalkeeper brings in another. Tim Howard goes to a trusted buddy, Bill Hamid. And what is notable, they've left the out for him to take an MLS deal or go overseas if something were to pique his interest.
But it's good for USL, obviously for Bill Hamid, and for Memphis 901. At home, 6 goals in, 0 points going into Oakland tomorrow night. So what does that look for? Lean on his leadership, lean on his experience. Big get for Memphis 901. And then you go down, obviously, Lynn Family Stadium is going to be rocking as they host Miami FC on May 13th.
That'll be 7 Eastern. It's on ESPN2. Start putting that in your calendar now. Set an alert. Easy enough. Week 2 scores. Last weekend, the Rowdies, another draw with Orange County. Things look a little different with a shape shift from Neil Collins that's a bit unfamiliar. How about Loudoun and San Antonio on level terms? So the reigning champion dropped points. And Charleston able to get a draw with the Open Cup darling last year in Sacramento Republic. So maybe a new leaf down in South Carolina.
And that's what you want for USL teams that go out. The level goes up. Obviously, Loudoun's not going to be an easy out. We saw them take care of Memphis, tie San Antonio, and then you go up, Pittsburgh Riverhounds taking care of Memphis 901. For me, that is such a surprising, the way that Memphis 901 has started this season, just after coming last year, so good, so much promise. What was it going to look like? And not good so far for them.
All right, here's a look at what's coming up tomorrow on ESPN Plus. Some games out west that'll pick your intrigue, like San Antonio and Colorado Springs getting after it again. In the East, I'm really interested to see Detroit and Indy 11.
Mark Lowry has his fingerprints all over this offseason. I think they brought in so much talent. So in the 11, once they hit their stride, not going to be an easy out. Then you have Sacramento hosting Nate Miller and San Diego Loyal. And boy, San Diego Loyal taking care of Phoenix Rising. They are looking good at the moment.
And thankfully, the schedule makers gave you a chance from 6 to 8:30. Go have dinner, maybe an adult water of some kind, then come back, finish your day. USL from 2 o'clock till midnight in the East. Miami 1 and Pittsburgh nothing at halftime. Time to hydrate, stay warm out there. We'll show you first half highlights, kick off the second half when we return to Pittsburgh.
Ain't no better feeling than a cold one in my hand. That's why I'll be keeping Iron City in my plans. Oh, everywhere I roam, I'll be thinking about my home. Sitting pouring on the iron right before I go to rest. And when I'm laying in my bed, there's only one thing in my head. Just an ice cold can of Pittsburgh, PA's best.
Go, come on. I love a new color and a new game. I like to switch it up, wherever my mood takes me. I'm always just doing me. And today, I'm me loving the PA lottery. The games have become a part of me. They make me happy. They get me excited. And when I want to try something new, I'll just go to another, and then another, and another.
There's a lot of love for the Pennsylvania lottery. And when you see how fun it is, you'll understand why.
Are you still working on that retirement checklist?
I want to find the perfect place for us to live.
I want to golf.
I'm looking for lots of activities and lots of friendly people.
We need to find a place where security is a priority.
Top-notch medical services are important.
And we have to find a place that'll let us keep lucky.
Absolutely. Well, guess what? St. Barnabas has everything we're looking for, including free unlimited golf.
Let's arrange a tour.
There it is, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And these Miami players that have been used to 70 and 80 degrees and sunshine. Maybe a shock to the system, but the real shock to the system tonight, Miami, the opening goal here in Pittsburgh. Mike and Ricky, let's get you caught up on first half highlights, of which there are several. We start in the 6th minute of play, and it's that combination down the left side with Robbie Mertz getting into the action.
And Bob Lilly's boys came out firing. It was just all about the rotation in the middle of the field, the spacing to go out the other way, changing the point of attack, had the most success for the Riverhounds. But as this game progressed in that first half, unable to find the breakthrough, the lack of the final execution, the ball. But then Anthony Pulis changes into a 3-back. So what does that give you? That gives you more numbers going forward. Soto is very active in and around the corners of the box. We'll see more of him later. Kyle Murphy getting more support that we haven't seen earlier in this season. Ben Mines getting in behind. You can just see the secondary movement. What I like about Kyle Murphy, he doesn't give up on the play. Yeah, you can put your head down. Not the cleanest of strikes, but keep with the ball. Something pops out. Doesn't need a second invitation, has a second bite at the apple, and that gets his first goal on the year. And I mentioned to you, Mike, you get Kyle Murphy confident like we saw 2 years ago at Memphis. This Miami FC side is a whole different animal going forward.
That comes just past the midway point of the opening half. And Murphy, who bagged 10 last year, is indeed on the score sheet. Ahead to the 33rd minute, And set pieces were the Achilles heel for Miami last year. They haven't really had any trouble with it yet.
No, they've been very good defensively in their terms of positioning, their rotation as well. You usually see the stats here. Pittsburgh Riverhounds, 59% of possession. But what can you do with that possession? So many times we saw them get into that final third. But what do you do in that final third? You need to be clinical. You need to ask questions of Zendejas, who's widely untested on that first half. So if you're Bob Lilly, what does this look like coming out of the second half? I think it all comes down to spacing, that middle three. Etsu, Forbes, Ibarra, Mertz on the left-hand side, and how quickly can you get Kiza and Diko? We haven't seen much of them in that first half. You want to get them in behind that back line of Miami FC. It's going to be very interesting the first 10 minutes here in the second half.
Diko last year, 11 goals, 4 assists, and Kiza played off the bench 10 times, 1 start coming in from Memphis, scored 3 times in less than 300 minutes. Can they get going here in the second half? Miami 1, Pittsburgh 0. Pittsburgh, an unbeaten start to the year. Last year, it felt like it was in phases, right? Where the beginning of the year strong, and then they hit a lull. There were injuries that cropped up in the middle. Then you dealt with bring some players in like Kiza at the end of the season to try and reformat that striker position. Or maybe Dane Kelly didn't quite reach the expectation that loftily was placed on him when he arrived. Diko rolls it back. Pittsburgh trying to make it more of a steady Eddie kind of campaign as this flings off the head of Mines. Some of that means using these 2 home games over their first 9. The next will be at home against RGV on April the 15th. The best possible effect. Dos Santos Sadarum.
Just situations like that we saw in the first half. Getting a very good position. Just a bit too heavy on the ball from Robbie Mertz. It's a good interchange as he plays in the interior. Dos Santos comes around the corner.
It's Thorne. Out 4 by Dos Santos. Diko will chase. Sorto never got to Murphy. Donez met it. Vera approaches. There's Sorto. At his best, as fun a player to watch as the championship can provide. Overlap. And a cross by Stanley. Soars up and out.
In the whole first half, I was asking for Aiden Stanley to get more advance into that final third. And it's brilliant understanding from Sorto, the patience to let this play develop. Andy Pulis telling his outside backs, his wing backs to get more involved. You can see the quality that Aiden Stanley brings. That left foot just whips this ball in a dangerous situation, but dealt extremely well with the Riverhounds.
Sorto again. He's looking for Akinyoti. Hernandez gave it a spin. Mertz got under it. Forbes. Here's Etsu. There it is. They had room out here, now in for Kiza. Ibarra. Kiza steers aside. Here's Ibarra again. Intent to get down this right flank. Driven for Dikwa. Mertz. Rivera off that of Stanley. Dos Santos have been calling for it. Now he's got it, but he's got Thorne riding him.
Really good defensive positioning from the visitors. You have 10 players back. Kyle Murphy stays high. But as you have this back line of 5, it's very difficult to break down. You need to be a bit more pragmatic in terms of his movement for the Riverhounds. The ball needs to move extremely quickly, very decisive in your decision making. Too many times players taking extra touches, that gives the freedom for Miami to step up and make things a lot more tighter, especially in the middle block of their defensive positioning.
At the end of the day, if you're Dos Santos, you've got the cover from Ordonez there. That's why that hurts.
Again, there's just no need. We saw it in the first half from Ordonez. Picks up the yellow card. You got players around. There's no need to step off your line and be that eager. To clear foul, extension of the arm, pulls Ben Mines down. I don't really know the argument to be had. Now have to deal with the dangerous set piece. Now Sorto and Stanley step over this.
Bit of rain falling under the lights. Sorto over. So it's Stanley. That is a flat Stanley ball. Ooh. There were 2 tackles at the end of the first half. You and I looked at each other and went, oh, okay, here we go.
Extremely charged. Extremely hard challenges from both teams. It was Hernandez, and it was Rivera getting on the end of it.
Who's paying for that? The sign just got lopped right off the wall. Chapman Page. Well, header steered over. Now Sorto. Kiza. Stanley. There's the latest foul-worthy tackle. Came from Forbes.
And he knows better. Stanley does extremely well.
You know, we've had a handful of these tackles over the last 20 minutes or so. You go back to that one there between Hernandez and Ibarra.
This is the one that really got me. Just a follow through. It is clean. It's all ball from Rivera, but Sorto gets the worst end of that one. And Stanley, feeling any sort of contact, is always going to go down looking for that foul. And another set piece for Miami.
Thorne. Stanley.
We've seen good quality from Miami. Just whipping this ball into a dangerous box. Riverhounds first to every ball to clear it away. Set piece defensively has been spot on.
Atu. Couldn't get it into Mertz. That's excellent for Mines. Murphy for Sorto, didn't get there. Hung up on Hogan. Advantage here for Pittsburgh.
Put that ball on the table.
Atu. Akinyoti, all ball again. These have to really be some pinpoint tackles we're looking at that we don't have an extra 5, 6, 7 fouls in the book.
And Miami needs to be very careful. Playing into a 5-4-1 defensively. Their first pass needs to be direct into Kyle Murphy's feet.
Nearly got to Dequa.
And that's asking a lot of the striker. His hold-up play needs to be spot on. And he's going to spin across here.
Mines evades Ibarra, leading Murphy. Hogan. It's going to be a throw, not a corner, because Hogan willed it so.
And how quickly can you catch this Riverhounds side on the break, turning their defensive efforts into attacking opportunities. Ben Mines very direct in his movement, and it's good understanding as he slashes across. It's a reverse run from Kyle Murphy, but give credit to Hogan, like for like with the striker, and evades a corner kick. But I think if Ben Mines fakes his pass, he has a lot of real estate to continue himself.
It's not really a tool we've seen in Ben Mines' box all that much. 6 goals in 60 or so games in the championship.
It's just a nightmare to defend. Constantly running behind, getting in the pocket, very comfortable on the dribble. Once again, just as pure running creates that goal, creates confusion in the Riverhounds back line, pops out to Kyle Murphy. How quickly can those two get on the same page?
Below, Mines. Towards Sorto, it was Ordonez. Let's tell you that Select is the official match ball supplier, the USL Championship, and many elite leagues throughout Europe. Visit SelectSportAmerica.com. The latest Select product specials and more. Select, the player's choice. Sorto. Not sure that was Pittsburgh's choice, but it's how it'll be. You know, you think about some of the truly, genuinely domineering headers of the ball the Riverhounds have had the last few years. A lot of them walked out the door here over the last 12 to 24 months.
It's true. I mean, I'm trying to think who would be the aerial threat now. You have a lot of size on the side.
Well, driven, that header smashed away.
With Dikwa, Hogan, Ordonez. Players that are not really known for their aerial presence. Another hard challenge from kids. They need to be extremely careful on a booking already.
He was booked in the 11th minute. You mentioned at the time you got to walk that thin line.
You just see undercuts, Aiden Stanley. But again, there's no need. You're going to lose this battle. The ball's gone. You can see no intent to play for the ball. Gets all of the body of Aiden Stanley. Now you have to set up defensively for another dangerous set piece.
Put in play by Craig. This is one of those sort of all-powerful headers of the ball. Jelani Peters was 6'5", so you always knew he was somewhere in the vicinity. Done a good job over the years finding these center backs that really make set pieces their own.
And I think it's having that balance as well, especially in USL, having physical, dominant center backs but are able to play with their feet, to play out of the back. We see the progression of the game of football and how they want to play in terms of possession-based. Every team, whether it's a goalkeeper, the center backs, or the kickstart to the attacking phase of the game, and unlock the opposition.
Look forward, you do have Joey Farrell, who came in off the bench a couple times to start the year. Guy who can, the man who can do both. I've seen Joey Farrell with more facial injuries over the years than I think either of us would prefer. It's a dude who has no off switch. Battle continues and pops out to Mertz. Dos Santos put in some of the elbow grease. Atu gonna come off below. Corner here for Pittsburgh, approaching the hour mark.
And once again, it's just this relationship between Robbie Mertz and Nate Dos Santos. Two-man game, fighting for position. They're looking for quality from Mertz. Just whip this thing in. right on top of that 6-yard box. Just cause confusion. Good things happen when you put the ball in dangerous situations.
On the defensive end, make no mistake, Deke was your man. Service across. And Ordonez in the area. Comes down to Valo. Appeals both ways, corner. You'll know Pittsburgh was pointing the whole way. Miami sort of half-heartedly indicated, well, no, of course it's going to be ours. As if the bleachers weren't rattling enough. Toward Kizza, came off of Craig, back in the air, toward Hogan, in front, and bounces down to Zendejas. Ordonez went down. There's pushing and shoving. There was an immediate appeal from a Miami player that Ordonez dove.
As this ball pinballs around, it's his second phase that causes all sorts of problems for Miami FC.
Let's see if we can get a better look at that.
And it's his second phase. Rivera just puts this thing into the dangerous area. There's an argument to be had. Ordonez is looking for this one. You can see right after in Stanley gives him an earful, as he should.
Yeah? Okay. Just intrigued, as he should. Okay. You had a lot more swagger when you were playing than I did, that's for sure.
One of the most frustrating things, apart from the goalkeeper taking extra seconds off the clock. Just players just going down for no need, especially inside that 18-yard box. You know what the intent is.
Spin from Mertz.
Once again, just not clicking. Unable to break this initial press from Miami. Too many times we've seen from the Riverhounds just trying to play direct into no man's land. Put your foot on it, circulate it from left to right. That's when you're having the most success. Kind of gone away from finding that third center midfielder on the outside channel to go out the other way. So many times from Bob Lilly's boys, whether it was Bernardo Forbes peeling off the shoulder of Bolo Akinyoti or Florent Valo. Just so much real estate if someone's able to put their foot on it and pick up their head.
Find Rivera camping out wide. Ibarra. Diagonal for Dos Santos gets out. Mike's Beer Bar is the official watch party location. The Pittsburgh Riverhounds SC. Meet me at Mike's. Perhaps you'll want to meet me at Mike's at the FC Tulsa match. Is that the next one, the 28th? It's a weird week here for Pittsburgh playing. Is it Friday, Tuesday?
Friday, Tuesday. So one of those questions I asked Bob Lilly, said, what does the rotation look like in terms of training, recovery? I don't think I've ever seen that. Quick turnaround on Friday, Tuesday.
Well, and if you think about it, if you play on a Saturday and a Wednesday, it's the same deal. It's just the way your mind sort of works around a weekend. You're going like, that's a weekend and a very early weekday match, and mentality is half the battle, right? Because I thought the same thing, and I'm like, wait a minute, if you shift the days, it's not that bad, but it feels like, and even Bob Lilly sort of alluded to it, like, yeah, we're playing on Friday and Tuesday. That's a tight turnaround. The hours are the same.
But you think about a 5-week schedule in terms of training. It's usually off Sunday, Monday's maybe recovery day. You push the teams hard Tuesday, Wednesday.
Right.
Taper off a bit Thursday, and then Friday's usually set pieces in and around the goal, positional, whatever it may be. But you throw in Tuesday game. What's Monday going to look like? What's Sunday going to look like? Very tricky, but that's why I'm not paid to be a coach.
There's a trio of changes upcoming here. Showing me Lopez and Failing for Pittsburgh are loitering by the fourth official. As Miami continues to attack the game with the goal they got in the 23rd minute from Kyle Murphy. It is notably a thin bench here for Miami. No Salazar, Telfer, Rivas, Segbers. Check that, Rivas left out of the national team setup. Had been part of the El Salvador group for a while. Dangerously swerved in behind, now at the other side. Found the right side of the corner flag for Miami. So here are the changes here for Pittsburgh. Nate Dos Santos comes off. It's going to be Canardo Forbes coming off.
Number 16, Bert Bailey. In for number 6, Nate Dos Santos.
And Edward Kizza on that yellow card, that tenuous yellow card that turned orange with time, comes off as well. So Failing, Lopez, and Showing Me come on. I'm excited to get my first extended look here at Tola Showing Me. 4th round pick in 2022 by Atlanta.
And he's a player that Bob Lilly highlighted in our phone call, said when he's come on, he's been very quality in terms of training, keeping himself professional, very dangerous. So how can he get comfortable with him and Albertico on that front line?
Dequa trying to sneak it up to Showing Me. There's Lopez, 25-year-old midfielder, ties to California. Ordonez beyond Stanley. Want to watch the action from on the field here at Highmark Stadium? So make sure to call 412-865-GOLD to reserve the IC Light corner kick suite today. They've really remade that little neck of the woods here in the corner. Highmark. I'm down with it. I'm excited about it. I really am.
Same.
Is it Charleston that has the shipping containers that they've put in the corner now? Unique ways to watch a soccer match. There it is.
There it is. Looks good.
It does. You've got the railings and the suites up top. I mean, a number of ways to do this right. It's just which one's right for you. All right, corner here for Pittsburgh. A lot of new guys in here. I always love hearing former players say, okay, 3 new guys come in. That's where you'd be watching this corner from. You got to mark the right guy. There's the service from Mertz. That's as clean a header as Pittsburgh has had all night.
Yeah, just haven't had any clear-cut opportunities. Once again, quality service from Robbie Mertz into that back post. Just mistimes his jump. I think it's Albertico on the end of it. That far post goes over the head of Paco Craig. You can just see maybe throws him off with the traffic in front of him. It's very interesting when you're defending a corner and there's substitutions made. You have to have a lot of communication. You say, okay, look, I was on Kizza, now I'm on Showing Me, whoever it may be. But as a substitute, that's part of the assistant coach's job. They tell you, look, okay, Kizza was on number 6 defensively. That's who you're going to be covering up. So it's just like for like swap. But when you're on the opposite side of the team that's making the substitution, that's when you have a lot of communication and a lot of breakdown time after time.
Zendejas got by showing me. Don't miss a minute of the action in 2023. Your club is on the road or at home. Catch nearly every second of USL Championship action on ESPN Plus, the home to the USL, MLS, La Liga, the Bundesliga, UFC, and more. Sign up today, plus.espn.com.
Make sure you show up.
Both these teams are on local TV this year. CBS affiliate, right, in Miami.
Yes, sir.
And here in Pittsburgh, new deal with the CW Pittsburgh. Penny for the thoughts of Ben Mines.
But no one has really taken hold of this game with both hands in terms of possession being the dominant side. And very pinball back and forth. And you need your special players, especially the players in the middle, to put your foot on the ball, get the confidence within the team. Really take the sting out of this game for the opposition. Seems like no one has really had the ability to do that yet.
Lopez. That header from Craig out of harm's way. That's a corner.
There's a sign for a Pittsburgh Bottom Spirit corner kick. Just your house Bottom Spirit.
Mertz skimmed along the turf. That is a Pittsburgh foul.
And those are so tricky to deal with. As Robbie Mertz elects to go low, you're looking for that secondary action. Little flick around the corner into that back post area. Chapman Page does extremely well. I think it's Ibarra that undercuts it. Referee has a good view at it. Quick to blow the whistle.
All right, so it's Joaquin Rivas and Mark Segbers that enter here for Miami. Mines and Sorto are done. So fresh legs there, and Rivas, a lot of creativity that you sort of inject into the game when you're already up a goal.
And it's a very interesting sub from Anthony Pulis. The ability to change this game at a drop of a hat. Joaquin Rivas very comfortable on the ball. Likes to play in between lines. Him and Velo, very players similar, the way that they like to combine, quick movements. Rivas deadly left foot. You have Mark Segbers, who comes in a more advanced position. We've seen him as an outside back. Whether it's a Memphis, his time in Miami.
Foreign foul by Lopez. There's Segbers.
Just flat out run. It's going to try to test and get in behind this Pittsburgh Riverhounds back line. And as they have to respect the pace, it's going to open up a lot of space and real estate for players like Velo, Rivas to operate. See Curtis Thorne comes in and gets caught late here.
Just run. I've always loved his Twitter handle, @YourMarkGetSegGo.
A plus for creativity right there.
It's probably a thought that he only needed to have once with a name like that, and it's stuck.
Fans, make sure to stick around after the game for the laser show. And following immediately after that, we will have
Sticking around?
There's a laser show? I had no idea. I think I'm going to Belize tonight, buddy. I don't know if there's going to be time for the laser show. There's an Easter egg in there somewhere. Reaching the end line. That's going to fly over everybody. Nothing doing on that service. And Pittsburgh still hunting here against this compact and defensively stout Miami team that gets a goal, and their chest just puffs out a little bit more on the defensive end, doesn't it?
You just see that when you have a 3-back, makes it into a 5-back, throw 4 players in front of that. Very tight, very compact, very difficult to break down. And I mentioned it earlier, but the way that you break that mid to low block down, it's quick movements, pulling players out of position on that front line. Whether it's showing me Dequa how to work together, play that game of cat and mouse between them, Chapman Page, Paco Craig, and Hernandez. And when you have that opening gap, you have to play very direct. It's in terms of breaking lines, and so far, Pittsburgh Riverhounds really haven't found any answers.
Oh, Dequa, almost perfect with showing me. Failing. And Rivas. This is Murphy on a solo expedition. I noticed that they've flattened the bouncy castle. Guess our halftime presence was not appreciated. Back heel, hoping to get that off Showing Me. Didn't play out that way from Moises Hernandez. It's Atu. Excellent. But again, the ball, too much strength.
Just forcing it down into that center channel. Does the hard part to get away from Velo. That's Showing Me makes that run. You don't need to force that thing right down the middle. There's so much traffic around the edges. Get yourself into the box and try to win that cross. And just see how quickly Miami FC likes to drop into their defensive positioning. It has Anthony Pulis written all over it. Things is done on the training field when you go up 1-0 on the road. What do we do to see this game out?
Showing Me and Craig becoming acquainted. Stanley went down, there was no whistle. Blackstock and Farrell are set to enter. And here they come.
Number 15, Joe Farrell.
That's it for Danny Rivera.
Junior, A2. 7.
And Atu is done as well, so Blackstock and Farrell, the newcomers. And that's it, 5 changes in the books now for Pittsburgh.
Telling me went off the far side.
Rivera's taking the road less traveled. Actually, he's just going to the IC Light corner kick sweep. Service here, Farrell, too high, failing. Better.
It's a really good idea. As Miami FC is tracking back towards their goal, there's tons of real estate. Good interchange between Dequa and Mertz. Clever idea just to cut this one back. Failing, it's always difficult. Trying to catch us on the half bounce. With traffic, Segber's applying pressure. You want to get your body over it. Head down, shoulders over the ball to keep it underneath that crossbar. But as there's traffic, team manager just to lean back.
Joey Farrell helping to get into the attack. Showing Me. Clipped off of Craig. Bouncing through again. Paco Craig, 85th minute last game, ceded the handball penalty that ultimately sunk Miami. That's going to be a foul one by Miami's Thorne.
I think he's been very good in the back line for Miami FC.
Benofemu. And that's it for Kyle Murphy. At the end of the day, you're asking your striker to do one thing, get you the goal to put you ahead. Anything after that is gravy.
The hardest thing in this game is to put the ball in the back of the net. We really had too much support in this second half. It's been on an island. It's something to be expected. up on the road, 1-0 at halftime. Park the bus. If we get anything, just a plus. But shift done. Job well done from Kyle Murphy. What does this look like going forward for the striker in terms of his confidence, in terms of his form?
If he catches fire like August and September last year, it means the rest of the East should be concerned. Memphis, and then they'll face, was it Jacksonville or Miami that got through?
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville? Oh, Miami versus the Armada. Who can't get behind that? No matter what, if you were a Miami FC fan, you were going to win that. And if you're Pittsburgh, you literally won that because you're not going to see Rochester, New York FC at all. The Vardy party was canceled. Feel for the, and you know, you talked to Bob Lilly and he didn't really talk about, oh, I really wish we got another chance to play Rochester. It wasn't necessarily that. It was more, you've got guys, because we haven't had to rotate yet, where that Open Cup game was going to be a chance to get some guys 90 minutes for the first time in the regular season.
And I think it's a very big challenge for any manager. In preseason, everyone manages their minutes, gets the same amount of runouts, whatever it may be. But as the season goes on, we're playing for points. You want to put your best 11 on the field, maybe 15 in terms of rotation. But what about these other players? Most of these clubs have, what, 25-man rosters? So those guys that are not getting game time, how do you keep them up to speed? And I think that balance is very difficult for a manager.
Aiden Stanley's become a fan favorite here in Pittsburgh. Haven't gotten enough of this Miami FC team yet. Well, Paco Craig leads Miami FC into Kentucky to face Josh Winder and reigning Eastern Conference winner, Louisville City FC. Don't miss the start of the new season, the USL on ESPN. Saturday, May 13th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, live on ESPN2. First of the national games this year. One of the great games of 2020 was that Indy-Pittsburgh. Some Pittsburgh fans probably don't care for that description, but the Pastor goal. Take a look at this. Overrun a bit by Lopez. He's recovered, but his touch too heavy. Segbers kept it moving. Segbers steps back in for Miami. Anthony Pulis begging to bring this back. And now the whistle. So I guess they were looking to see if Segbers would have any advantage at all for that.
I think you are right. To be fair, it is good refereeing from Joe Flores. As Ibarez gets caught lunging. Trying to see how this game plays out, this ball plays out.
Garner gave that a minute, maybe a minute longer than a few beating hearts cared for Highmark Stadium tonight. He's got it. Back to Hogan. Failing. Over Farrell. The support. Blackstock in front. Farrell. Still danger. Now it's cleared. We'll know this, Joey Farrell in Rochester in his first iteration under Bob Lilly wasn't living like this all the way up front. Benefemu in his season debut shown a yellow card. And a free kick for Pittsburgh with plenty of time to go.
The yellow cards listed from Miami FC's number 22, Benjamin Afeanu.
And the two chances that the Riverhounds has had has come from this cutback ball. Joey Farrell, good first touch to be fair, but Paco Craig comes out puts his body on the line and closes down any sort of angle. And Ofemu
finished it, that's for sure.
exactly.
Mertz over the ball. Can Miami stand up to it again? Mertz. That header rang off of Akinyoti. Corner, Pittsburgh. New set pieces that sunk Miami's boat last summer when these teams last met. Can Mertz unlock Miami here? Off that of Craig. Oh, what a hit! Burke failing! What a goal for Pittsburgh! Level with 5 minutes to go! That is success by any measure.
And it's been quality all night from the right foot of Robbie Mertz. As this ball comes out, the second phase is extremely hard to deal with. He had one moments ago with his right foot. He gets it all wrong, but he rights his wrongs here. Beautiful angle here as this ball pops out. Off the half bounce, head over the ball, laces through it. Technique on 100. There's no keeper, not only in USL, in the world that's stopping that one. The pace, the power, the technique on display from Burke Failing. Terrific to draw this game 1-1.
And that is his third career goal in the championship. Goodness, what a hit. And Burke Failing pulls this to level terms. Buckle up for the last 5 minutes here.
And he makes it look a lot easier than it is. Just got done saying it's human nature just to lean back and just swing your foot at it, let it hit and see what happens. The technical ability with traffic coming towards you, the way that that ball just skips off the turf. Terrific technique from the substitute.
They had talked about how he is buzzed when he's come in the game off the bench. And he's certainly put a live buzz back into the stadium now with 3.5 and stoppage time to go. Ordonez. Keeper came out, header wide. Showing me nearly had his show me moment.
Nervy moments for Zendejas. As he comes out, he gets caught in no man's land. Does he go, does he stay? It's a big no-no for a keeper as he puts his hands up to apologize, showing me he's gonna want this one back. You get it on target, you are the hero here at home. Just so unfortunate.
Yeah, for a number of these guys, that's Failing's home debut here in front of the fans in Pittsburgh. He was with Charleston in 2021. A 3-3 draw on September the 26th between these teams was his first introduction to the game here. 2 goals by Claudio Repetto, Alex Dixon, the equalizer in the 87th minute. One of the craziest games of the 2021 season. Failing thought, nah, I can do more of that.
How many times have you seen a player after scoring a goal like that go to the corner to celebrate, turns around, says, let's get back, we have a game to win. Just tells you about the mentality, the selflessness of him. True team player, probably mentioned.
Contact, down goes Farrell. Showing me. Farrell! Zendejas. What has gotten into these Riverhounds? A yellow card after the fact. Chapman Page appeared to vocally accost the referee.
And he's been jawing all night, whether it's at a player, whether it's at the referee. As this ball comes out and sets up extremely nicely for Joey Farrell. Brilliant technique to rope this into the near post, but a fantastic save from Zendejas.
Is this the moment? It's away, and not even Failing will have a chance at it. Couple of tied up arms. Back to Pittsburgh. 90th minute. If there's a winner to be had. Nearly through. Who knew Farrell had been miscast all this time playing center back? Farrell knows he's in an offside position. Chapman Page had to send that to Philly. Quick throw out of the reach of Showing Me. It is amazing how quick the momentum shifted in this, because Miami was playing the perfect game of whack-a-mole for about 35 minutes.
You score a goal, you park the bus. How many times have we seen this around the world? We look for that game, that sometimes that shoots you in the foot. That doesn't give you the ability, give you the mentality of bend and don't break, but sometimes it does break. Talk about Bob Lilly having his fingerprints all over the substitutions, the pulse of this game. You bring in Showing Me, you bring in Lopez, Farrell failing. They've all brought something different, just injected energy. It's so active, causing chaos, getting in behind. Fantastic insertion from the Riverhounds substitutions.
4 added minutes. Any given night. Beautiful game provides a new hero. Is there one in the offing? Header away by Hogan. Stanley will take his time. Hernandez, head on a swivel. 30-year-old from Dallas. Stanley. Another throw for Miami, 2.5 to play. Farrell. Stanley. Weaving at Blackstock. Corner Miami. How quickly are you taking this now that the momentum feels like it's starting to turn?
You take your time. Curtis Thorne. Take a deep breath. You need quality in terms of your service. What an opportunity this is to take the win out of the sails of this stadium here at Highmark.
Corner Miami. Got toward Ofemu, still alive. Rivas, reserve. Ricochets down from Craig. Hogan got there. Ofemu was utterly unmarked. The boards do not move. Thrown in, Dequa felt he was getting tabled. There's the call, free kick, Pittsburgh, minute to go. They're gonna stop play, and that's for the betterment in the end of Pittsburgh. Forward from Garner. Bounces down. Flicked away from Showing Me. That's Ibarra. Final seconds now, Mertz. Mertz floats toward Farrell. Did that go off the hand of Chapman Page? It didn't. Thrown out to Rivas. option, sprinting forward. Rivas waits. Had the trailer. And that is full time.
Your final score, Pittsburgh Riverhounds 1, the Miami FC 1. Fans, thank you for
and these teams are spent. A 1-1 draw between Pittsburgh and Miami, two teams that could not express a higher level of admiration and respect for one another. And the great home team and the great road team in the Eastern Conference, ultimately a push, 1-1. Let's take a look at the final closing minutes of this here, Ricky, because Pittsburgh, after absorbing 2-3 minutes, nearly had a chance to get this going. Let's start with Burke Failing's man of the match-worthy goal. It's presented by Heineken.
And just fantastic the way that he steps up and how confident. As this ball pops out, he has one thing on his mind: just get over it, get it on target. There's so much traffic, I'll use the momentum against it, just hit it cleanly, and he knows it's a banger. As he goes back, we have a game to win. But fortunate enough for Miami FC, Pittsburgh Riverhounds wasn't able to find that secondary goal to get all 3 points. But what a game we had. Very tactical, very back and forth. No one really taking hands and being the most dominant teams in terms of chances. No really clear-cut opportunities for both of these organizations. I think a draw is a fair result at the end of this game.
Well, a wild night here. Miami gets the goal from their golden goose, Kyle Murphy, in the 23rd, only to see Burke Failing grab his third, and I'll call it career-defining kind of goal. 1-1 draw. We'll wrap it up on the other side of the break here in Pittsburgh.
At AHN, we see you juggling 100 things at once. And slowing down, taking in every moment together. We see you finding time for what's important. And realizing when it's time, you don't have to go far.
We gotta go. All right, I got you.
At AHN, we see you.
Well, the home opener ends with the ultimate in-between. It's going to be about a 3-week wait until Riverhounds fans can embrace this team again when they take on RGV. Pittsburgh 1, Miami 1. Mike Watts, Ricky Lopez, Espin to wrap this one up here. Let's take a look at the highlights at full time. We're going to start back in the 6th minute of play. Pittsburgh in the first 10 minutes came out firing.
It was all about the rotation in the middle of the field, whether it was Robbie Mertz on the left-hand side or Conrado Forbes on the right pocket. Really got away from that as the half wound down. You can see here, Conrado Forbes getting in that half pocket that I keep talking about on the right channel, and Deco was magnificent in terms of his running, creating space for Kizet. This one doesn't come off, but you can just see the idea was there. And were they ever going to find that breakthrough in that first half? Anthony Peel's a little tweak in the lineup, and I think it's going to do massive in terms of chance creation for Kyle Murphy. You get the second bite of the apples, and just pure hard work. Being a fox in the box and never saying never in terms of that box. Keep pushing on. And what a goal that is in terms of his confidence, in terms of his form. If he gets going, this Miami FC side with the likes of Ben Mines, Christian Sorto coming into their own, they're going to be a handful to defend. in the attacking phase of the game. Anthony Pujols needs to be extremely pleased with how they turned the 3-back system, getting into more chances. But the game, Mike, was all about set pieces. Robbie Mertz was terrific in terms of just whipping the ball into dangerous situations, and one of these were always going to fall, and it's an unlikely hero.
That it is. 86th minute, it falls to Burke Failing.
And what else can you say? It's just top class. The way that he goes over this ball as he just roosts this thing in terms of momentum, pace, technical ability, skill, you name it. Burke Failing had it in his locker. There's no stopping that. Zendejas can do not courtesy dive, and that's how we end this game 1-1.
All right, here's a look at the full-time match stats and a chance for your final thoughts on this one. Miami goes on the road, they get a point. Pittsburgh still unbeaten through 3 games.
But I do think Anthony Pujols is going to be a bit frustrated not to walk home with all 3 points. They did so well defensively, frustrating the Riverhounds just to break. And sometimes you just have to tip your hat and say, look, better play, better offensive effort from Burke Failing. But Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Bob Lilly, I think he's going to be frustrated again on the attacking phase of the game. Didn't really create any chances through the run and play. It was all set pieces. It was all pulling the ball into deep. Let's see what he could do. As this ball pops out, Burke Failing makes no mistake about it. In the end, I think 1-1. Teams share the points, I think it's fair to say.
All right, if you're watching on ESPN Plus, you can tune in to Rio Grande Valley and Monterey Bay. That's the other game on this Friday night. Scoreless at halftime. For our entire team here in Pittsburgh, appreciate you spending part of your evening with us. If you're a Riverhounds fan, finally, you're able to embrace this team again. And as ever, almost impossible to beat at Highmark Stadium. For Miami, it is a familiar tale, going on the road, getting points. They get a 2nd point of the season. An absolute stunner proves the equalizer. For Ricky Lopez Espin and our entire team in Pittsburgh and beyond, Mike Watts saying thanks for watching, and so long for now.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.